I mean, we've all learned one or two things, and we would like to say we are with you, we empathize, and we share and feel your pain. And we just want to just thank God for the gift of life. Like, it's not by chance that we all made it in one way or the other, we survived to this very moment. So no matter what, always believe in God and know there is always hope. So right now we'll move on. I would like to welcome someone very special. She came in while our brothers and sisters were sharing their experiences. Well, I call her special because she's an iron lady and she happens to be our founder's mother. In addition, yes, see how young she is. And she's also the founder of the foundation of GBFEM. She's going to FW. She's going to tell us more about it. Please, can we clap for her while she? Welcome, Madam. Welcome, Mom. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank everybody. I don't want to speak from the podium.
Yes.
I'm not the person on the podium, I'm the grassroots person. Born and raised in Bangwa, in the Bibiana, and Azi you've heard about. You know about Azi. Okay, so I am Bibiana Mbuh Taku. It's true, I'm the founder of the GBM Foundation for epilepsy and mental well-being. I think that should give you a little bit of idea about what it is. Generally speaking, I'm an entrepreneur, a business owner. I run a small consultancy, but I prefer to be known as a social entrepreneur because that's where my heart is. I guess the private entrepreneurship provides me with the means to do my social enterprise work. And since the demise of my son, it has become like a way of life for me. Why the GBM Foundation for Epilepsy and Mental Wellbeing? My son, Gabriel, was, I can say, a genius. Very, very brilliant. Went through secondary school. Did very, very, very well and with a heart of gold. And while in Form 3, he started having episodes of epilepsy, convulsions. And initially we thought it was something that would go away. He stayed, but he managed with it and went all through advanced level. 4 advanced level papers in sciences with excellent grades. Went to Germany, and one thing led to another. Depression set in, he got deported. Eventually, he went to the United States of America, where everybody would think things would be better. But I still feel, because I've not had the result of the autopsy, I want to still believe that my son was medicated to death. Because in June, when I went to spend his birthday with him, that was 2014, I realized he was reacting to some of the medication. I called out the team to tell them to examine. Nobody paid attention, and eventually he died alone in his room. And I was the first person to get the news of his death because we talked on a daily basis. So I called him, and eventually somebody picked the phone. It was the police, and they were asking me too many questions. And I asked them, "Is my son dead?" And they said yes. I was in Togo in a room alone. I was there on mission. And you can imagine, it was like, yeah, so it was a big, big shock because we had spoken the day before. It's only on that Saturday that he died that we hadn't spoken, and I was trying to call to talk to him. So that was what happened. And I would have gone into depression myself, but for the fact that I believe in life that nobody should waste any challenge. Don't waste a challenge. Don't waste a fall. What does that mean? That if there is a challenge, be resilient in order to transform that challenge into an opportunity. That has been my motto throughout life, and I still believe so. Why am I telling you this story? Because your story resonates with mine. You know, when you have gotten to a point where you think that you have attained your breakthrough, and it's like everything falls apart. And with respect to this crisis, I was building a center in Fontaine in honor of my son for rehabilitation of persons living with epilepsy, for proper diagnosis, research center, and another section for the empowerment of the woman and the girl child, which is something my mother was very passionate about. With the support of a new and our own funds and friends, we had built and completed a big structure with a marvelous conference room. And behold, just as our dads had given us roofing material, and we're thinking of how to take it to Fontaine, the crisis. So you can imagine, yes, everything. I mean, I've forgotten about it, I've turned the page. Because I don't know when I will go back to Fontaine again. I don't know when. Because when I ask you, you've heard about the BLM, about a Z, everybody knows that that's the heart of the crisis, yes. As we speak, I cannot tell that center, and even my mother's house, if I go in, I will not see a human skeleton because there was a lot of killing that took place there. That means that everything is gone right. So, to tell you that and understand, your stories resonate with mine, that at one moment you find yourself in a situation where you have nothing to hang on to. No? You have nothing to hang on to. It does happen. I lived with the son of Fontaine's wife, who also was a dynamic woman with a big cocoa farm, doing her business and working. And one of the first houses to be burnt was her business house. And then in the palace, they broke into that house. And eventually, that house got burnt also. So she lost like everything. She lost everything. So the only thing we did was we took the prayers. I heard about the house being burned before she did. So when she came in, like, I was trembling, wondering how to tell her. What I did was I sat her down and then also reminded her of her own story, how my parents separated when we were still very small. And we had to live with my mom. And for all the years she has spent also in marriage, all she had was a few household things that were gathered and then they accompanied her to her family compound at the palace, because she happened to be a granddaughter to the palace. And so we had lost everything too. And begging for shelter, right? Mm-hmm. We're begging for shelter. I tried kilometers to go to school because it was in the middle of the school year. But then, before she died, she had good shelter. Before she died, she was so much also into charity. When we talk about a foundation day for the woman, for the girl child, because she believed in the education and the economic empowerment of the woman, no matter their level of education. She never went to school. And she was one person who believed also in resilience, just like myself. She also believed like myself that there is always something left, even when we think that all is gone. So with this lady, I reminded her of my mother's story. She was too young to know about it. And I told her what she knows about my mother, because she knew her when she had established in Azi, helping out in community work, in leadership, women leadership affairs, and then even she was a feminist, working with her uncle on the phone to champion issues of the economic empowerment of the woman by giving land to his wife who wanted to plant cash crops, and then by supporting also to send the children to school. She did a lot in the community, working in the cooperative and all that. But can you see from where she came? She lost everything, right? She lost everything. She was her father's successor. Her father was a prince. And her father inherited so much from his own father and gave all that to her, which she brought some of the things into marriage. So when she's living with her few household things, don't ask me about the ghosts and whatever thing that she had inherited from her father. All had been turned over into her marriage, right? So when she left, do you think she would have gone back to go harvest her crops? No, she wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
So we were also in a situation like yours. You would say to me that the fund was providing support, but I believe even in your various circumstances, the little bit of whoever, even just a kind word, you can treasure a pride, you can treasure even a kind word to tell you that the rain cannot fall on the sun is bound to shine. Right? Yes. And I will say I resonate with, I listen to Duchess Megan. She's one lady who inspires me a lot because perhaps she comes from a background similar to mine. And when I see where she got to, not even by marriage, I say to myself, everything is possible. From a broken home, biracial, in a situation where when we listen to what happened around, in an environment where she was also stigmatized because of her race, no, but that she was able to get to somewhere. And I've seen her also in a situation where she's been rejected and pushed around, and where she's able still to hold her head high. So I listened to her talk to the class of 2020, the graduation class in her former high school. She said something that I believe very much, that you can never stop building, and that when the foundation is broken, we all are broken. So the Anglophone crisis, in my opinion, and now with the pandemic around, is like foundation breaking and breaking and breaking. And I think I will say like her that we can never get tired of building. That we have to build, rebuild until it is built. Somebody has to do it. Nobody is too vulnerable to do something. Pick up your pieces. I had a teacher in Enam. I went to Enam. I went to business school. I went to Enam. Who used to say to us, because it took us 6 months, boost was not coming, and we were expected to dress well. The boys had to wear suits, wear mokolo hats, and then the women also, you had to dress in the suit. So all those conditions, but without money. So he would get into the class and then see us looking a bit gloomy. You say to us that we should pick up ourselves, square our shoulders, and walk straight. So it's the same thing that I will say to you people. It is never over until God says that it is over. We always fall. We always fall bad. There is nothing bad in falling. What is bad is in refusing to stand up. There's nothing wrong. I heard somebody saying that failure is bad only when you fail the second time. No. I will say that failure is bad only when you refuse to use the failure. Failure is a good thing. Some of you here, there are skills you never knew that you had. Some survival skills that you never knew that you had. Somebody has said here that they try to do every little bit of business in order to earn an income. Perhaps some of you never knew that you could even sell. I myself, when my family moved to Yaoundé, I just finished a SEC, that's the School of Commerce, Higher School of Commerce and Economic Sciences. I was about to get a job here, my family moved. So to go to Yaoundé, getting a job was not like easy. Even though a friend told me you could write a name, I said, but after a SEC, what am I doing with a name? I said, just as you can write. But in the meantime, what did I start doing? I started sewing clothes for little children. My hope was to sew those clothes and sell. But if I was not in that situation of joblessness, maybe I would never have known that sewing clothes would be something that would help me. Okay, and then something like gardening. Those are some of the skills that I've picked up during those difficult times. Growing up with my mother struggling. But I tell you that with this crisis, I've not bought vegetables for the longest time. Because I just have a small strip of land like this. Bought black soil, berry compost, and then plants. I have bitter leaf, I have a common. Right now I have corn. around my house. I have water leaf, of course. I buy plantains only when mine have not produced. I've planted yams. So those are skills that you pick up that you never knew that you had until you are challenged. When they say that necessity is the mother of invention, it's true. Please, my dear sisters and brothers, it is time for you to put your mental health first. And nobody can do it better than you yourself. Nobody can. Even the handouts that you can receive is not sustainable. But if you can start from something little and say to yourself, well, death is not an option. No, I have to live. I heard you saying you need to be able to help your parents back. That's good. That is some motivation to tell you that if you accept to get into depression, then you are letting down those parents who are looking up to you. I believe every one of us here have a reason not to let down themselves, because it is first letting yourself down. Please, my sisters and brothers, once again, the rain cannot fall permanently. The sun is bound to shine. And don't waste a fall. There is always something left, even when we think that all is lost. There is always a silver lining in that every dark cloud. So you are in a situation where we need to hang on to the silver lining and ignore the dark cloud. Hang on to it. Look for every one of you must have a silver lining. Look out for your own silver lining. Hang on to it, brighten it, and then say to yourself, this little light of mine, I will
let it shine.
Let it shine. Who knows that song? Okay, please, can you help us with
this little light of mine? I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.